Big story of the day, the government plans to create a distress fund of 20,000 crores as part of its measures to salvage stalled residential projects. But will this be enough to help the real estate sector that's sitting on a large pile of debt, contributing second largest number of insolvency cases? Let's put this question to real estate consultant Gulam Zia of Knight Frank India. He's joining us right now on the phone line. Thanks very much for joining us. Just want to get your sense on whether or not the measures that have been announced are enough for the sector or no. We've been talking about the expectations since a really long time, and while one of them has been announced with regards to a fund creation for stalled project, the other one was clarity or probably having a larger scope of definition for affordable housing, but that's not come about, and that only just creates a little more ambiguity with regards to this announcement as well.
If you're right, as far as ambiguity is concerned, I would say yes, there is some, because on one side where they have tried to broaden the gamut of incentives or sops that they're giving, it's today not just for affordable housing, but also for mid-income housing, as they're calling it. Now, how will they qualify, how will they define the mid-income housing is something that remains to be seen. So that's exactly the ambiguity that you spoke about, and I stand by, yes, there is an ambiguity in that. Now, your first initial question was whether it is good enough. Look, I would want to believe that the stress was majorly in the mid to upper end of the market. The lower end of the market and affordable housing is something which has been receiving lots of sops and incentives for last at least 2.5 years, whether it was Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or differential better rates at GST and so on. A lot of these incentives have been coming along all throughout, and that has given a good boost to affordable housing. In fact, real estate industry has been surviving on those sops given to the affordable housing. But as far as distress is concerned, has always been on the mid to upper end, where of course it's also about the supply side issues, that a lot of supply was created into the upper end and super luxury and luxury housing, and that is something stuck up right now. And that's where the big problem is, and it continues to increase, because the more we time spend on not rescuing them, the bigger the stress will be. And that's the key concern, that while whatever was done was great, however, it is not going to be sufficient because the stress still lies elsewhere, not so much in affordable and mid-end housing.
That's exactly what Niranjan Hiranandani also pointed out, that if you have a project where you have a few units which are a 3 BHK or a 4 BHK in a project which mainly comprises of 1 and 2 BHKs, how do you quantify whether they are eligible for getting some sort of a rebate or applying for this fund?
Indeed, that's exactly the concern, because even this fund also comes with riders. Even if it is mid-end housing, it says that, first of all, it should not be in NCLT or should not be an NPA. And then obviously, this is exactly where most of the problems are. If a project has already reached that stage where it is already declared NPA, you would need rescuing that project. And then huge number of projects are, if not already there, maybe in next couple of months will be lining up over there. So we needed some rescue mechanism for such projects. Number two is projects which are 60% and more completed are also one more rider, is yet another rider that we have to qualify to get that money out of the distress fund. And that's where, the ambiguity, if Niranjan Bhai is also talking about, is exactly coming over here. That if you're talking about 60% completion, how do you quantify that? So what we spoke about earlier, that ambiguities are there, and we need some clarity before the dust settles to actually make a convincing or a statement with conviction that this will be good enough or not.
Morning, Gulam. This is Agam. So the government has allocated about 20,000 crores towards the stress fund, of which they will provide 10,000 crores. The other 10,000 crores is expected from external borrowers. My question is, how is the environment for these external investors? Are conditions right? Are the circumstances, important in this case for these external investors to come into, this affordable housing space? Or are there certain conditions, circumstances that they will need to see before they start putting in money in the sector?
Very valid question, especially because of the current environment. Private investors may not be keen to put in money. And even if private investors are coming in, obviously they will come at their own risk-reward mechanism, their own expectations of profits out of it. And then that can actually beat the whole purpose, because if that is exactly what we wanted to, it was always available. That window was always there. Now the government is taking this efforts to pick the money out of the budgetary allocations. Number one, that's the first 10,000. And the second 10,000 crore that they're talking about has to also, well, she has spoken about at least two avenues where money can come in. One is LIC and the other is an IAF. And these are the two avenues on which the government has control. Whether these two avenues can give them entire 10,000 crore or not will then be the question to answer. However, getting money from the private player is something which I am not very convinced about, because it also will come very costly, and whether it will serve the purpose or not will remain to be seen.
All right. All in all, if you have to give us your verdict on what you made out of these announcements, what would it be?
I would say it's a good beginning. We have to go a long way.